Sorry,
What's up, guys?
You got the tail end of a tangent there about everybody saying
Kirk
Ben
Herbstreit is
Johnson
here.
and
So
Aaron
now
Glenn
we're just going to
were trying
recap
to make the
everything.
Lions lose because they were focused on future jobs. We don't think that's true. This is normal operating procedure, but let's talk about Ryan Day quickly, and then we'll move into all the other ball conversations. This whole thing started because Ryan Day can now say to others and himself, I can win the big one. I can win the national championship. Do you think that respect is going to radiate through the state of Ohio and college football for him? And how long does that follow him or carry him? I told AJ last night, let's give Ryan Day a lifetime contract, the Ohio State, after winning the national championship. AJ said, I don't think that's how that works, but let's move forward. What do you think this does for Ryan Day after that big win, Herbie?
Well, you know how that. I mean, anytime you win a national championship, it's in the NFL. It's like winning the Super Bowl. You just go into a different galaxy. You go into a different stratosphere. And I don't think he was ever in trouble at Ohio State. You know, I think rational minds behind the scenes, president, athletic director, I mean, they're all in before this 4-game run. But, you know, what they put together is historic. I mean, it's the first 12-team playoff that we've seen. It's a team that's coming off a very, very heartbreaking loss. You guys, you know, obviously talked about this, and they talked about 4 games, getting to 4 games and it not being over. And it's pretty easy after you lose the 4th time to your rival to fall apart. Guys, move on, get ready for the league, do whatever you're going to do. And I'll tell you, Ryan Day did a great job, and I'm sure AJ would agree with this. If he didn't have so many veterans, and you go around that defense, you know, JTT, Jack Sawyer, Tyleik Williams, Ty Hamilton, that's just the front 4, Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, Brandon Hancock, Caleb Downs has become a guy they rely on, Lathan Ransom, Denzel Burke. I mean, these guys have been around for 4 years. They've won some big games. They lost to Georgia a couple years ago, lost to Michigan. And I just think there was a buy-in. And I think that's what made it so special. It's not just Ryan Day. You're happy for him and his staff, but those veteran players that said, guys, we can do something off of this loss. If he didn't have that veteran presence in the locker room, I don't know if they accomplished this. So I think those seniors deserve a ton of credit for pulling together and getting it done those last 4 games.
Hell yeah, and it was an honor to watch them from the sideline. Obviously, you get to call the games as well, but us just getting a chance to watch them.
How'd that go last night, dude?
Dude, it's so cool. So this leads me to my next question. Obviously, your son is on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Zach, who we obviously know, dog, good dude. Love his vibes, love his energy. He's on the team. He's now a national champion forever. AJ was holding back tears last night at the end of the game whenever we were on the sideline, and he tried to divert it, you know, classic AJ. He was, what are you going to do next year now? You know, that was like he was like, you know, but he was emotional for Ohio State to win that. I think he was so proud of that team. I think he is a massive fan of all those players because of what they had to deal with. I think he understands it. Being an Ohio guy, in Ohio, around all Ohio State fans, played there. Like, I think he gets it. So I think he was fighting back emotions as well. And then we saw you with Scott Van Pelt after the game and Chris Fowler in the booth where you got emotional as well last night. And obviously, anytime somebody gets emotional on television, that's going to be reacted to. But for us, I thought it was cool, man. I thought it was cool to watch you kind of let the world know how you actually feel, as opposed to just being these baby blue eyes in a suit calling a game. You're an Ohio guy. You're former president of Ohio. Your kid's on that team. I really appreciated what you did. And did you know it was coming? When did you know you weren't going to be able to hold it in? And how do you feel after a situation like this happens on national television, Kirk?
I only know how I feel at the time. You know, that's not something you think about or predict. It was almost like a perfect storm for me. My son had heart failure 2 years ago. They were talking about a heart replacement there for a while, and he had to medically retire. And Ryan Day, I think the gratitude I have for Ryan Day, putting his arms around Zach and keeping him involved. You know, he's almost like a GA with what he was doing, and Ryan insisted on putting his arms around him, Chip Kelly, all these guys. So there was that side of it, looking down and seeing him in his jersey after, you know, potentially facing, you know, replacing your heart to that. I haven't really talked about this publicly, but, you know, Allie, my wife, faced some stuff. It's been a tough year for me behind the scenes. My wife got diagnosed with breast cancer. You know, Ben dies. It was just it's a lot of emotion, and when you do what we do, you endure. You do your job. And I think what happened, couldn't predict it, but when they won, I was so happy for Ryan Day and those players that I just talked about because of what they faced and all the stuff behind the scenes. It was almost like, I don't know, maybe a release of all that penned up stuff, and it just got the best of me. I'm an emotional guy in general, and when things touch my heart, I'm not good at talking, when that happens. And Scott came to me, I was already a little bit kind of dealing with it, and then he came to me first, and I was like, "Why you got to come to me?" kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was just real. It was just me talking, and I think, like I said, it was a perfect storm of emotions of a lot of stuff going through my head, and looking down and seeing my son, my wife is in the booth with me. It was a lot, but just happy for those players. That's a lifelong memory. That fan base will never forget this run they put on, and you're just proud. You're happy for them. You're for what they faced at the end of that Michigan game. And I talked to these guys behind the scenes and know what they were going through and how hurt they were, and for them to endure that, overcome that. Man, what an example for sports. What an example for all of us in our walk in life to go through adversity and learn that, we grow more going through adversity. And they did as a collective unit. They overcame. I just, whether it's Ohio State or any other team that happened to be Ohio State, it makes it that much more. But I'm a big sucker for team. And when I see people go through stuff and come together and overcome, sign me up. I just love it. And it happened to be my team. So, there was just a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing all that. Team sports are the greatest thing on earth for all the reasons you just laid out. And shout out to the 12-team playoff for being a little bit more forgiving to teams that potentially have a hiccup or a setback, because them getting a chance to kind of make up for the loss to Michigan for themselves, for their team, for their state is beautiful. Shout out to your wife, Allie, absolute badass. Obviously, we knew what was happening behind the scenes. Nobody talked about it publicly. Feels like everything that happened to you this year was a lot. In the way you were able to maintain professionalism on the microphone, both calling games, both Thursday and Saturday night, and on game day, while still bringing juice to all the game day meetings, and I assume all the other meetings you've had to do all year. I could see how going from one thing to the next while dealing with everything, and then a little finality almost to the season, and then you see the happiness of the people that have been close to you struggling. It's like, yeah, I can see how you get emotional, brother. So don't you ever feel bad about that. And we love you, man. Know that. We're proud of you, buddy. Not an easy year, man. Not an easy year. I know your ass in the Bahamas right now, but not an easy year for you at all, man. Legit, you had to fight. There was a lot. Heavy. Your family did, you did. It was proud of you, man. You had a great year. You need to know that.
Well, that's why I always, having each unit I work